Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us live on Channel 10 in Waterford every day on the Media Network of Waterford and live to tape on Channel 10 in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television, otherwise known as ONTV. You can also find us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District, and find us online on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website at civiccentertv.com as well, where you can find more information about all of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets. All of that on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can also find all of our entire shows and each individual interview on demand. Now let's head over to our coronavirus page, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources at the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division, so that you can stay up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19, including the spread of COVID, precautionary tactics such as masking and distancing, as well as vaccinations and booster shots in your local area and all across the state of Michigan. Also on our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, we feature articles from many journalistic outlets throughout the state of Michigan in order to keep you updated on COVID-19 and other stories making headlines across the Great Lakes state. Our top story today from Bridge, Michigan, the Michigan gas tax holiday all but dead now. Lawmakers are eyeing other options. This is from Bridge, Michigan, of course. A Republican proposal halting Michigan's gas tax collection for 6 months is all but dead despite winning support from both chambers of the legislature. The Senate voted 24-14 Tuesday to advance the measure, which would have suspended the state's 27.2 cents per gallon gas tax for 6 months between April and September of this year. Although the bill now heads to Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer's desk, she signaled last week that she would veto the GOP-backed bill. Even if she were to sign the bill, the plan would not take effect until March of 2023, almost a year after the proposed effective date of the gas tax relief. That's because legislative rules require two-thirds support to take immediate effect. Quote, those that voted against immediate effect are the ones that are not going to be able to deliver any kind of relief immediately to our drivers, in close quote, said Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey, a Republican from Clark Lake, to reporters on Tuesday. Now the election year battle over gas relief moves to Whitmer's request to the Biden administration for a holiday on the federal 18.4 cent per gallon gas tax, as well as talks to suspend the state's 6% sales tax on gasoline. The debate comes amid sticker shock and anger over skyrocketing gas prices across the country, a spike worsened by the ongoing inflation in the U.S. And the ban on Russian oil following the Russian war with Ukraine. Gas prices have risen nationwide 11 straight weeks. In Michigan alone, a gallon of gas has spiked to $4.32 up from $3.10 at the start of the 2022 calendar year. Michigan Senate Republicans plan to suspend state gas tax collections for the year, would have cost the state roughly $770 million in revenue, including $725 million from the Michigan Transportation Fund and $45 million for state and local road and bridge repairs, according to a House fiscal analysis. GOP legislatures have argued that with more than $7 billion in revenue surplus, the state is capable of shouldering the cost. Democrats agree relief is needed, but said functioning road repairs is a priority as well. With the tax holiday likely dead, both Republican and Democrats on Tuesday expressed willingness to suspend or completely do away with the 6% sales tax on gasoline. Michigan is one of 7 states where motor fuels are subject to some or all of the state's general sales tax, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. Senate Minority Leader Jim Ananich, a Democrat from Flint, said he is considering legislation to suspend the sales tax on gas until the end of the year. The tax dollars collected on gas sales go toward the state's school aid fund and general fund, and Ananich told Bridge, Michigan last week taxpayers deserve some of the quote-unquote windfall revenue Michigan has collected as well. At the beginning of the fiscal year 2022, the state had expected to receive $621 million based on the price of the $2.84 per gallon gasoline, Senate Democrat spokesperson Rosie Jones told Bridge. That estimate will likely rise significantly since the price of gas has soared. Quote, if the gas price goes back down to levels where we were at before, I'd be happy to have it end early, Onanich told Bridge. Obviously, I don't want to hurt schools, but I think that we can solve the concern after we give people relief, and closed quote. Multiple Republicans, including Senate Majority Leader Shirkey, embraced the idea. Shirkey said that he would like to see the sales tax eliminated. Quote, I want to drive a stake in the heart of sales tax on gas. It's just been a dumb tax from day one, and closed quote. He said, continuing on, I'm anxious to get the rest of the legislative leaders together and move this forward. Onanich said he is open to negotiations. That full article from Bridge on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Also making headlines over there from the Detroit Free Press. A judge appears skeptical that former Governor Rick Snyder can plead the Fifth Amendment in the Flint water crisis lawsuit. Lawyers for former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder and some of the other criminal defendants in the Flint water crisis said they believe the statute of limitations had expired when their clients gave testimony in a related civil lawsuit before their indictments were unsealed, the federal judge was told on Tuesday. Lawyers for Snyder, former Flint emergency managers Gerald Ambrose and Darnell Early, former Flint Public Works official Howard Croft as well, and former Snyder advisor Richard Baird told U.S. District Judge Judith Levy why their clients should not have to take the stand at the civil trial of two consulting firms which began last month. But Levy gave no indication she intends to quash the subpoenas issued to Snyder and other potential witnesses. She said it is clear that they waived their Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination when they agreed to testify in depositions in the civil lawsuits back in 2020. She repeatedly asked attorneys to demonstrate to her how the depositions and the trial are not all of one legal proceeding, which would mean that those waivers remain in effect. But she never appeared to receive a satisfactory answer. Quote, if I had known at the deposition what I know now, I certainly would have invoked the Fifth Amendment privilege, said Kalamazoo attorney Randall Levine, who represents Baird. Quote, that's life, and close quote, Levy said. Further, Levine said prosecutors had assured him that Baird, quote, was not a target, and closed quote, of the Flint criminal investigation. Quote, I had the right to rely on the government's representations, and I did, in considering Baird, in consenting to Baird testifying in a deposition, Levine said. Quote, there was a new prosecutor at the time of the deposition, and you knew that, in closed quote, Levy replied. Early, Ambrose, Croft, and others were all charged criminally in 2016 when Attorney General Bill Schuette was in charge of the investigation, only to see those charges dismissed in 2019 after an election cycle replaced Schuette with now Attorney General Dana Nessel. Then, under Nessel, a one-person grand jury brought new charges in 2021 against Early, Ambrose, and Croft, plus charges against former Governor Snyder and Baird, who had not been charged previously. Snyder's deposition took 2 days, and the transcript, which has not yet been made public, fills 831 pages, Levy was told. April of 2020, 6 years after the Flint water supply was switched to the Flint River from Lake Huron, was generally seen as a time when the statute of limitations expired for criminal charges in the lead poisoning of Flint's drinking water. When Early testified in a civil deposition in July of 2020, quote, we thought the statute of limitations had run, in close quote, Juan Mateo, a Detroit attorney representing Early, told the judge. Mateo said he did not know that Early had been indicted back in March of 2020, although the indictments were not unsealed until 2021. William Swore, a Detroit attorney representing Ambrose, said that, like Early, Mr. Ambrose did not know that he had already been indicted when he gave his deposition. Levy said there was apparently an quote-unquote incorrect assumption that the statute of limitations had expired, even though Ambrose was aware, quote, there was a possibility, even a probability, that he could face criminal charges at the time that he waived his Fifth Amendment rights by answering questions in a deposition. Levy, who said she will issue a a written ruling, floated a possible compromise under which videos of the depositions of Snyder and other potential witnesses would be shown to jurors. Lawyers would then present arguments outside the presence of the jury on whether any additional questions could be asked through live testimony. Lawyers for Snyder and the other potential witnesses sounded generally positive about taking that approach. The lawyer for the indicted witnesses said giving live answers to even the exact same questions puts their clients at greater risk for criminal prosecution. Partly because their clients might not answer those questions in exactly the same way that they did during their deposition, but lawyers for the defendants in the civil lawsuit, Lockwood Andrews and Newnham, or LAN, its parent company, Leo A. Daily Company, and a second company, Veolia Water North America Operating Services, said Snyder and the others should have to give live testimony. The civil trial, which is being held in Ann Arbor, could last upwards of 4 months. That full article from our friends over at the Detroit Free Press on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Lastly, making headlines from the Detroit News. An Ohio woman is charged with leaving threatening racist voicemails for Michigan lawmakers. A 58-year-old Ohio woman is facing charges of ethnic intimidation, making a false threat of terrorism after leaving threatening messages last year for 2 black lawmakers. Charges were filed against Sandra Bachman of Batavia, Ohio, in Lansing District Court Tuesday related to voicemails, and Bachman is alleged to have sent voicemails to Senate Democratic State Representatives Sarah Anthony of Lansing and Cynthia Johnson of Detroit. Bachman was charged with 1 count of false report or a threat of terrorism, 1 count of ethnic intimidation, and 2 counts of malicious use of telecommunications services. Bachman will be arraigned on the charges in person on March 31st. Quote, "This rise in threats against elected officials will not be tolerated," said Attorney General Dana Nessel, whose office authorized the charges after a Michigan State Police investigation. Quote, "Those who think hiding behind a phone or a keyboard will prevent them from facing criminal charges are severely mistaken," Nessel said in a statement. Continuing on, the Attorney General said, quote, "I appreciate the work done across state lines to bring accountability in this case." That full article with even more details on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, so that you can stay up to date on everything you need to know on this top story, this one of our 3 top stories today, and everything making headlines across the state of Michigan, as well as that accurate information on COVID-19 from the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great program ahead today on this Wednesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Oakland County Executive David Coulter to discuss his State of the County address and other issues and programs that are affecting the people of Oakland County. That's coming up next. You're watching the Oakland County Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you. Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation. Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners, working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Joining us now is Oakland County Executive David Coulter, who recently made his State of the County address. Executive, thank you for being with us this morning.
Tyler, always great to be with you. Thanks.
Appreciate having you on. So can you touch on some of the highlights of the topics that you emphasized last night at the State of the County address? It was the night before the date that we are recording this, and that this is live on the Oakland County Megacast. And obviously, it's been another complicated year here in Oakland County. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different factors to consider. What are some of the highlights that you went over last night at your State of the County address?
Yeah, thanks. You know, what I really tried to do is lay out sort of a 5-year roadmap for the future. What does Oakland County really need to make sure that it's paying attention to, leaning into, investing in over the next 5 years to make sure that we remain a competitive and great place to live? And so, you know, some of those buckets include a strong economy, right? We know that Oakland County is a good place economically. You can get a good job here. But are we doing enough for our small businesses? So I touched on that. Safe and healthy communities. That's safe and healthy people, I should say. And we know how important that is. Our health, but also our communities being safe places. And we talked about that. And then finally, I kind of have this last bucket that I would just say, letting people live their best lives. The kinds of things like parks and trails and workforce development that really help make this an exceptional county to be. So I laid out this 5-year plan, and just as importantly, I want to say this. I want to hold us accountable. We have goals and we have measures, and we're going to have data around these plans. And now, as of now, you can go to our website at oakgov.com, and all of these goals will be there, and the measures will be there. So you can hold us accountable to achieving the things that I talked about last night.
We're joined by Oakland County Executive David Coulter on the Megacast. More information on their website, oakgov.com. And so a big factor in all of this over the last couple of years has been COVID-19, and it looks like we're in a much more relaxed place now, and things are looking up for the first time in a long time as we've been dealing with this pandemic. But COVID-19 is not going away just yet. So at this moment in time in Oakland County, What's been the conversation between your office, between the board and of course between the Oakland County Health Division and its approach to continuing to protect the community and advise the community on what is happening on the COVID-19 front, while also understanding that that uncertainty should be playing a factor into plans for the future?
Yeah, it's a great question because, as you put it so well, COVID is not over. But as the numbers indicate, as the transmission rate indicates, we are at a different place now. Our transmission rate now is considered low by CDC standards, which is what we've used from the beginning. They've modified those standards somewhat, but we are at a low transmission rate. And so that allows us to do more free things. We don't have the mask requirement in schools right now or in indoor settings. So the transmission rates have guided this. We've tried to follow the science as best we could from the beginning of this. As you indicate, there could be spikes. Our health department is always monitoring this on a daily basis. And we're also talking to our health system, our hospitals, to see what's happening there. So the good news is, we are at a different place, and that's what made me feel comfortable giving sort of a more of a forward-looking 5-year outlook versus just talking about how we're going to get through, the pandemic and the terrible things, that has wreaked on us. So I do think we're in a very different place, but well said. We may have to reinstitute measures at some point, depending on what the virus forces us to do.
And you mentioned refocusing goals for the county going forward in that 5-year plan, some of those benchmarks, some of the ways that you and by you I mean the county is aiming to accomplish those goals. Something else to refocus on after COVID-19, or as we begin to find our way maybe out of the COVID-19 pandemic, is the role of public health in our communities. Because in the past, it's been, of course, preventing spread of the disease, whether it's West Nile virus outbreaks, or if it's the seasonal flu or common cold or some other disease that may be coming through the community. That's kind of been that role. But we've seen over the course of the pandemic, not just COVID-19, but other conditions that have previously been kind of pushed to the side, such as mental health, being something that's considered much more critical to the public health now in the context of what we've been through with COVID-19. How does that help to inform both your office and the Oakland County Health Division in refocusing its goals going forward?
You bring up a great point. Mental health was a problem before COVID. Not enough people had access, but it's a crisis now. And I've often said that if there's a silver lining to COVID, maybe there's a couple, but one of them is that the stigma around mental health has gone down. It used to be that people were reluctant to get help because they didn't want to be identified as somebody that needed help. But frankly, what we've seen in COVID, anybody can have a mental health issue just like you get a physical health issue. You can be rich or poor, black or white, live in the city or the suburb. It hits everybody. And so one of the things I talked about during this speech is that we're investing $13 million of our American Rescue Plan dollars on mental health services. So that's going to cover our nonprofits in the county, so that if you're a resident and you need access to mental health services, I encourage you to reach out, and we're going to be able to meet another 66,000 people's needs in Oakland County. But we're also going to invest in our students in school, and we're going to invest in our hospitals so that the people that have a mental health crisis and show up in the ER can get help when they get there. So we're leaning in and trying to address the need. But I want to encourage all your listeners, anyone can get it. And if you feel like you have, any kind of issues, it's just like a physical health issue. Get it taken care of.
We're joined by Oakland County Executive David Coulter on the Oakland County Megacast. More information on their website, oakgov.com, for more information on county programs and plans going forward, and of course to review and watch for yourself the State of the County address that Executive Coulter made earlier on the week of this recording, on this live broadcast. Again, we're joined by Oakland County Executive David Coulter on the Oakland County Megacast. Another driving force in the future plans of Oakland County is, of course, on the business end of things. We've seen our commercial businesses, our retail businesses really across the board have also taken a large hit during the COVID-19 pandemic, but we're also seeing there is this sort of drive for industry here in Oakland County and in southeastern Michigan, really across the state, from a variety of different industries, including the automotive industry, really investing in electric vehicle production here in Michigan and here in Oakland County. How much of a role does that play? Does that investment by many different companies, including General Motors here locally, play into Oakland County's plans going into the future?
Yeah, you know, I started my speech by driving into the auditorium in a Chevy Bolt that's made at the Orient Assembly Plant, the GM plant, to highlight the fact that, you know, GM made a $4 billion investment there, the largest investment they've ever made in the history of their company, and the largest private investment ever made in Oakland County. So it was a huge thing, and I think it reaffirms that Michigan is a competitive place in the EV market and that we can compete and win in this space. But what I also talked about in my speech is this: those kinds of big wins are wonderful and we celebrate them when we get them. But most businesses in Oakland County are small businesses, 50 people or less. And that's where we really have to make sure that we're leaning in and giving the resources that they need. You know, over the last couple of years, we've given 15,000 of them support through the county, through grants and toolkits and the like. But going forward, we're going to really lean in on those small businesses. We created a new team, and I announced this at the speech, called Business Forward. And these are 9 business consultants who are not going to work in the office, but are going to work directly in the communities with small businesses, helping make sure that they have the resources, the support, the grant writing, whatever it is that they need to be successful, they can help our small businesses, because that's really the backbone of our economy here in Oakland County.
Especially as we add more industry to Oakland County, another thought that comes up, another topic that comes to mind is sustainability. That's been a significant buzzword in politics, in industry, in government for a number of years as we attempt to maintain a certain quality of life in our society, but also balance that with the need to protect the environment so that we are able to live that quality of life for a significant amount of time. Later this hour, we'll be joined by Dr. Michiganders from Oakland University, who's part of the leadership team from their university sustainability plan. Can you talk about the partnership between the county and Oakland University on sustainability in Oakland County and making plans to accelerate into the future, but do so in a way that is thoughtful, that is considerate, and that is prudent to maintaining our environment?
Yeah, I'm so glad he's going to be your guest. He's smarter about this than I am. The great folks at Oakland University are really leaning into this space and really have become recognized leaders in this space of sustainability at the higher ed level. And we're, I think, really blessed to have Oakland University in this county. And so I announced at my speech a brand new partnership with Oakland University, where they're going to help us do the data and the research and the strategic planning around environmental sustainability. And I can't thank them enough for their help, because, as you said, this is a critical, a moral issue, frankly. If we can do all the other things right, and if we don't figure out how to protect the health of this planet so that we survive as a species, it's all going to be for naught. So I think we have a responsibility to ourselves and our future generations to make sure that we're working in this space as well as we can.
We're joined by Oakland County Executive David Coulter on the Oakland County Megacast. More information from Oakland County, including everything you need to know about the State of the County address that occurred earlier earlier on in this week, that we are both broadcasting live and recording this particular interview on their website, oakgov.com, for more information. oakgov.com to learn more. And so we have a significant Ukrainian population here in southeastern Michigan, really across the state of Michigan, and here in Oakland County especially. Obviously, our thoughts are with those in Ukraine and those of Ukrainian descent with Ukrainian friends and family who are affected by the barbaric Russian invasion of Ukraine. Knowing that we have such a significant Ukrainian American population and so many that have family and friends or others in their life that are over in Ukraine, what sort of support, either to resources or assisting in directing to resources, is maybe provided through Oakland County to residents who may want to help those in Ukraine as they're dealing with this crisis?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's so devastating what's happening there. The Russian invasion is just unbelievably unacceptable. And I think a lot of us thought we would not see something like that in our lifetime. And as you mentioned, we have a significant Ukrainian American population in this county and in this region. And it was important for me as a leader to stand up and support the democracy that they're fighting so hard to protect. I went to a Ukrainian prayer vigil in Southfield, where there's a Ukrainian church there. It was beautiful. I went there with my friend Andrei Duji, who's a leader in the Ukrainian community that I've known for many, many years. I was really proud of the fact that we lit up our county building in the blue and gold of the Ukrainian flag to show support for those folks. And as you said, we're also working to get resources as we can and to help coordinate that for our residents to donate. I would also encourage you, because there's been some bad actors in this field, that if you go to the attorney, and I've talked to the Attorney General about this because she's very concerned, as always, unfortunately, there's bad characters that try to make money off of these sort of tragedies, which is disgusting to me. But if you go to her website, the Attorney General's website, she's also tracking who not to give money to, who to give and to not give money to. So I encourage your folks to do them. And then just otherwise, if you're a praying person, to hold the folks in Ukraine in your prayers and thoughts, because they need all of our strength right now.
Yeah, we had a couple of interviews recently too with more information on how you can determine legitimate actors in relief for Ukraine. We had Sam Rosenberg on yesterday, who's a co-founder of Share Detroit, and they just created a new effort, Share Ukraine, at shareukraine.org. And we had Melanie Ducanel from the Michigan Better Business Bureau on with us recently, also talking about those charity scams really early on in the crisis over in Ukraine. So all those good resources, those are on civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can view both of those interviews. And of course, the Attorney General's office, always helpful in their information on avoiding scams. We're joined by Oakland County Executive David Coulter on the Oakland County Megacast. Last week, related to the Attorney General's office, you were part of a press conference with the Attorney General, with Dana Nessel, as well as Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard, talking about a $26 billion opioid settlement with the nation's three major pharmaceutical distributors, Cardinal, McKesson, and AmerisourceBergen, as well as Johnson & Johnson. Can you talk about the settlement, how it affects Oakland County, and more particularly, how it affects providing the services and providing the aid that's needed to those that have been affected by the opioid crisis right here in Oakland County?
Yeah, and it is a crisis. There's no question. I think we've all seen that overdoses and deaths are up, in particular because of fentanyl, which is just so much more deadly, and that these opioids have been overprescribed and oversold by these pharmaceuticals. They were wrong, and they got caught for it, and they should have got caught for it, and they have been penalized significantly. And Oakland County is one of the counties that's joined the lawsuit early on, back in 2016, I believe, before I was executive, but I supported it. We did the same when I was mayor of Ferndale, because it's important that we hold these companies responsible for the devastating effects. And we've all seen them. We've seen it in our family. We've seen the addiction that's happened. And so we're going to get a sizable portion of that money, but we're going to get it over 10 years. So it's going to be about $1.5 million a year for the next 10 years. And as promised in the settlement, we'll use every dime of that money to go into drug-related programs, whether it's prevention programs, treatment programs. I'm working with my health director right now to figure out exactly the best way to spend that money. We haven't got it yet, but every nickel of that will go into helping give families and individuals relief from this awful epidemic that we're faced with.
Executive Coulter, just another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else at this time that would be important for Oakland County residents to keep in mind in terms of county programs or things that are on the docket that people should be looking forward to and keeping themselves informed on here in Oakland County?
Well, you did a great job of hitting on the main theme, so I really appreciate it. Maybe the last thing I'll throw in is, and I shared this in the State of the County, we've all seen how important our parks are. Sometimes we forget about them or forget the importance of them, but I think in COVID we all found out how important it was to get outside, get some fresh air, connect with nature, reconnect with ourselves. And one of the things I talked about last night is, one of the assets in Oakland County is that we have 138 miles of trails, which are amazing, but my goal goal, and I stated it at the speech, is to get us to 400 miles. I think I'd love to see a web of trails throughout our communities, throughout our counties, and in the region, so that we can bike ride and ride, walk and whatever else we want to do to get out into nature. So our green spaces continue to be an important asset in Oakland County.
Executive, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Great to see you as always.
Yeah, good seeing you as well. We've been joined by Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter on the Oakland County Megacast. You can read his entire official State of the County address and view it as well, and also view their strategic plan and all those different data points that Executive Coulter was talking about by visiting the Oakland County website at oakgov.com. If you go to oakgov.com/SOTC, that'll take you straight to the State of the County page on their website, oakgov.com/SOTC. We'll take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. On the other side, we'll speak with James Pappas from Fusco, Schaefer, and Pappas Architects and Planners about their work designing buildings and spaces for many nonprofits in the local area. That's up next. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Michigan is chock full of exceptional architecture, and the tradition is continuing across our state. One Michigan architecture firm is doing its part to create beautiful, artful buildings while also assisting nonprofits in the Great Lakes state. Joining us now is the owner of Fusco, Schaefer, and Pappas Incorporated, Architects and Planners, James Pappas. James, thank you for being with us today.
Good morning, Tyler. Thank you for having me on the program.
Appreciate having you on. So tell us first about your business, about Fusco, Schaefer, and Pappas Architects, and some of the different designs that you have been part of, or your company has been part of here in the state of Michigan.
Well, thank you. Our firm is located in Ferndale, Michigan, and we have a staff of 30 people. Then approximately half of our work is with nonprofit organizations throughout southeastern Michigan. Some of those include the Pope Francis, and we're working on the new Pope Francis Center in the city of Detroit. Other organizations include neighborhood service organizations, and we're working with them on a new shelter currently under construction in the city of Detroit as well. Other groups include Presbyterian Villages of Michigan. We are working with them on multiple projects throughout the state. And organizations like Lighthouse in Pontiac that provide services to homeless individuals as well as people in need. So we've, over the years, we've made a conscious effort to try to work with nonprofit organizations and assist them in their journey of helping people in need.
So where did that motivation, or where did that effort for your company start? Because I would think it's pretty unconventional for an architecture firm like yours to put that kind of work in for charities and nonprofits on top of regular clients that you're also supporting.
Well, when we work with these organizations, it's not on just a pro bono basis. There is, there is funding for the project, so. We do get paid to work on the majority of these projects. but it's still we've made that effort, like I said, over the years, purposely. I think it started really when I joined the firm many years ago with Jude Fusco, who was the founder of the firm, and he's been passed away now, but kind of instilled in me the importance of working with organizations like that, and it continued it to this day.
And so these organizations, they're typically on very fixed dollar amount for what they can put into projects such as this to improve their buildings, let alone to build new facilities entirely. How does that for a firm like yours to be able to put its plans into fruition, but also fit the vision of these different organizations? How are you able to balance that, knowing that some projects may go over budget, some projects may be under budget in any architecture or planning situation, but especially for nonprofits, knowing that they have very specific needs and typically there's not a whole lot of flexibility there?
That's very true. Going into these projects, we typically have a fixed budget, and there really is no additional resources that you can go back and secure additional funds. So it's important that we work very closely with these organizations. They have a vision that it's our responsibility to achieve that vision as best we can. But we're still locked into, budget, so that we need to develop our designs that fit the criteria of the budget as well as our vision. It's a balancing act that, that in any architectural project, there's always a budget, and you have to balance that with the vision of the client.
So we recently spoke with Aisha Morrell Ferguson from COTS Detroit, one of the many great charities and nonprofits in the state of Michigan, and you're actually working on a project with them at this time. Can you tell us about that project and the ways that your architecture firm is helping support the vision of this particular charity and nonprofit?
The COTS project was a unique project. It's located on Peterborough, just off of Woodward. It's a high-rise building that was in need of renovation, and utilizing tax credit dollars as well as historical tax credit and low-income tax credit and several other sources through the City of Detroit and other organizations. We were able to do a complete renovation on the building, maintain many of the historical elements. It was originally built as a hotel many years ago. And then we were able to renovate the building into an adaptive reuse to utilize it as supportive housing for individuals that were previously homeless.
We're joined by James Pappas, the CEO and owner of Fusco, Schaefer and Pappas Incorporated Architects and Planners, joining us on the Megacast. You also mentioned earlier you've been doing work on the Pope Francis Center as well. Can you tell us about that project and the ways that your business is helping to impact their facility?
Pope Francis is just a wonderful organization run by Father Tim McCabe, a unique and amazing individual that had a vision to create bridge housing for those homeless individuals in the city of Detroit that have fallen through the cracks and not been able to get any housing in any other manner. We've worked closely with his vision to create that concept design. And I can tell you, we are just about to start construction. We've had a groundbreaking, and we're finalizing all the steps for permitting and construction that is starting shortly. It's a wonderful organization.
So what is the process for these different projects when you're working with a nonprofit organization versus a more traditional sort of clientele, like a business or a developer? How does that approach happen differently when you're working with a charity or nonprofit versus another client?
Well, with the nonprofits, the funding sources are your typical client utilizes a conventional financing, through a bank or lending source. Where a nonprofit, there's really two options. They can utilize some type of government type funding, whether it be through the federal or state governments, and donations. The Pope Francis, for example, is being funded 100% by donations to the organization. So there's the process of collecting donations and simultaneously working through the design process to a point that the ownership team felt secure that they could actually start construction now with enough dollars in hand to safely move forward and not have any delays during the construction process.
So we've talked multiple times in our discussion so far about budgeting and how that fixed budget for these nonprofits and their projects is a big factor in the design and the execution of these building projects. So I would think that efficiency in the execution of those plans is important, but also in the designs themselves. Can you give us some insight on some of the designs that your company has done for these different nonprofits that's incorporated some sort of efficiency into that design that allows for multiple uses of one area versus another, or some flexibility for these nonprofits so that they can get as much use out of their facilities that they are working with you on as possible?
It's a good example of that is the Pope Francis Center. All of the spaces, for example, there's a dining space, but it's also designed in such a way that it can be used for gathering activities, group activities, and even outside community activities. There is a gymnasium as part of that design that is going to be utilized for the residents as well as for the community to use on certain times. And then that same space, when the weather is bad, can be used as an overflow shelter space. So that as we design these spaces, you're absolutely correct that we need to keep in mind that spaces need to be functional, multiple uses, and not so that they can be in use as much of the time as possible.
We're joined by James Pappas, the CEO and owner of Fusco, Schaefer, and Pappas Incorporated Architects and Planners, joining us on the Megacast. Earlier this week, during Mayor Mike Duggan of Detroit's State of the City address, he recognized your architecture firm's projects, including the Friendship Meadows, University Meadows, Transfiguration Place, Brainerd Apartments, and Peterborough Arms. Can you talk about each of these projects and your work in the city of Detroit to help assist with their resurgence down there? Because Detroit was never gone. It's not coming back. It's resurging, and it's kind of reforming itself into the future.
Well, and there's a combination on these projects. Several of them were renovations of existing buildings, and that's an important piece of the resurgence in the city of Detroit. Some of these buildings were occupied but in need of substantial renovation. Others were unoccupied or in a state of disrepair and needed substantial. And some of them were new construction. But as you mentioned, all those, the Transfiguration one was a unique building. Maybe I just highlight that one a little bit in the city of Detroit. It was a former Catholic school that had been closed for a number of years. And we got involved with that project and converted it to residential units. Just a unique space. Each classroom was converted to a complete one-bedroom apartment. And again, the target occupancy for that, again, is supportive housing, again, targeting individuals that may have been previously homeless. So it's a win-win. You had a vacant school building that, you take any building, and if you leave it vacant, it gets into a state of disrepair. And by this conversion and adaptive reuse, and now we've got a viable living space for a number of people.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about a lot of these projects is it's taking that historical architecture of the city of Detroit without adulterating it or replacing it entirely. It's maintaining that architecture, that unique Detroit identity visually, while also providing great purpose to the city. And of course, those projects that are providing home spaces for living spaces for the homeless are a huge benefit to the city of Detroit, as they would be in any major city. We're joined by James Pappas, the owner of Fusco, Schaefer, and Pappas Incorporated Architects and Planners, joining us on the Megacast. And let's have you touch on that real briefly. The maintenance of that architectural identity of Detroit. And some of these buildings that you are going into, or that other architects and other firms are going into to redesign or to repurpose. Part of that, of course, a big part is the functionality. You want to make that a functional space for whatever purpose it's going to be used going forward. But like I said, Detroit has its own unique architectural identity. So how do you work to maintain that architectural identity while also bringing utility to these spaces for the future?
It's critical especially on buildings with historical significance, as you mentioned, that we make every effort and work closely with the project's historical consultant as well as the state SHPO office so that the historical integrity of the building is maintained, elements of the exterior facade, the window designs, as well as interior components. We're currently starting work on a project called Lee Plaza, and the exterior historical significance as well as the interior. It's just a grandiose building that the ultimate goal here is to restore it back to its original historical elements and historical beauty.
James, any more interesting projects coming up with your firm that we should be on the lookout for in the near future?
Well, the one I just mentioned, the Lee Plaza, I believe the mayor did mention that project, and it's one we're just getting into the design phase on. It sits right on the boulevard, and it's very visible it's on West Grand Boulevard near Grand River, and very visible because it's one of the few high rises in that area. So keep an eye open for that one, and as the renovation starts, you'll see one of Detroit's gems brought back to life.
James, thank you so much for joining us and talking about these great projects that you're working on and some more designs we will be seeing in the very near future.
Thank you so much, Tyler.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Achoo! The COVID-19 pandemic shined a bright light on the literacy gap here in Michigan, and one local organization is looking to help get Michigan reading, giving away an astounding 50,000 books to the community. Give My Books founder Todd Whalen joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. Todd, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on with us. Let's begin. For those who are unfamiliar with Give My Books, can you talk about Give My Books and what you've been doing, your organization's been doing with books and other media in our community since 2008?
Yeah, so Give My Books is it's our family business. So what we've been doing is we've been picking up books from people who no longer need them or don't, for whatever reason, directly from people's homes, right off their front porch or another safe, dry location. So that way we collect them. And then as a family business, what we do is we sell them to support our service and to support our family. But not all of them can be sold. So we give as many as possible back to the community. And we've been doing that through a number of different ways.
And so, Todd, what inspired that giving portion of this operation? Obviously, the books that you can resell from your business side, you want to resell and make whatever you can off of them. But the ones that may not be able to be resold but may be useful to the community, they can come very much in handy to educators, to students that may not otherwise have access to those books. So where did that inspiration begin to start that effort?
Yeah, that's good. So back when I started this business, I was a single dad. And so what started it was I was asking people for their books in order to support me as a single dad. But then what I realized was that people, they love their books. They want to know that they're going to a good cause. So what we then did was just start giving them back. People are giving us books to support our family. So then we want to give back to the community. I actually feel indebted to the community for all the help that they've given through giving their books. So that's the reason why we definitely want to give back to the community.
More information on Give My Books is available at jlcbooksale.com. jlcbooksale.com to learn more information. Last year, you gave away about 30,000 free books. And so it's got to be a massive effort from your team in order to put this effort forward at all. And your goal this year is to surpass that 30,000 almost twice over. Your goal is 50,000 books given away in our communities. So just how big of an effort is it? How many people are involved and the logistics that are involved in making this happen to get these books out into our community?
Yeah, so there's a good amount of effort to this. We've actually done a lot of the digital work using both the websites, givemybooks.com and jlcbooksale.com. They work hand in hand. So what we've been doing is giving books directly to schools in bulk. So like each school, they can get 2 books per student that can be given directly to the students, and then 2 books for the teacher for each of their students. So we're basically just dropping off bulk shipments to these different schools or organizations. That's one way we've been doing. But the way that we've modified things now is so that individuals in the community can get free books using the online checkout process through JLC Book Sale to schedule their time to come pick them out. And they get the free coupon through Give My Books. So it takes a good amount of people to set this all up, but we've actually automated most of the process that we can now get down to running it with just myself, and we have 5 other people who run the whole business together.
We're joined by Todd Whalen, the founder of Give My Books. More information in a couple of places, jlcbooksale.com as well as givemybooks.com, where you can learn more information about both the JLC Bookstore and learn more information about Give My Books, how you can get involved, how you can help them out, as they aim to give 50,000 books away to the community for free this year in this effort. And so you're based out of Washtenaw County, and for the most part, this effort has been based in Washtenaw County, with the goal now expanding from 30,000 books that was the end result approximately last year to your goal this year for 50,000 books. How is that effort going to change? Are you expanding outside of your local area in Washtenaw County to surrounding counties?
Yes, absolutely. So what we've done now is we are having parts of Livingston County, Oakland County, Wayne, and Monroe counties. So basically from where we're at, it's a approximately 30-mile radius that we've expanded our pickup area, and thus helping us to get more books so that we can actually give away more books.
What's the response been like in the community year after year as you are giving these books away? Because there seems to be, off the top of my head, there would be a couple of different places these books would go. They go to individual families that may struggle financially, not be able to afford getting new books and keeping their children and their families engaged in reading and that creative mindset that comes from reading these books, but also to teachers and schools throughout our multiple county area that this effort's going to be put forth in, that we've seen, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, have had to really tighten their budgets. And often for these educators, even outside of the times of COVID, they're often buying these books out of pocket. So free books can be immensely helpful. What's the response been like from the community in Washtenaw County since 2008, as you've been doing this effort to provide these books for free in your community?
Yeah, the response has been fabulous. We've had utter appreciation for what we're doing, especially like you mentioned, teachers. They buy their own books. That's a huge burden, really. And then especially we found out during the pandemic, not everybody had access to books. They couldn't get their school libraries and things like that. So there's a big need for books to be given, especially over different economic zones. You know, not everybody makes the same amount of money and can afford books. So them being given free we've received so many either letters of appreciation, even from schools. One of my favorite things ever was getting a handwritten card from a bunch of little elementary school kids in their own handwriting. I mean, that touched my heart. So we've had a tremendous response from the community in what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure that helps in these individual classrooms too, to mix up and break up these lessons and give a more extensive look from the literacy standpoint in these classrooms, and of course giving that ever necessary relief, especially financially, to teachers. I know from the experiences of my aunt, who is an elementary school teacher at Brick Elementary in Ypsilanti over there in Washtenaw County, that the expenses that our teachers are putting forth just to do the bare minimum, at the very least, to teach the kids in their classes every year is immense. And so having these opportunities, not only does it help the teachers financially, and that's great, it really helps to enrich that learning experience for the kids as well.
Mm-hmm. It's very true. And one other thing what was I going to mention? Oh yeah, the Ypsilanti Community Schools, to help them. Yeah, even in Ypsilanti Community Schools. This is what I was going to say. This is an ongoing thing. This isn't just because it's 50,000 books, poof, we stop. We want teachers every year to continue to get books for their students, their new students, and have new books for their own classroom. So this is an ongoing thing. Yeah, we have a goal of 50,000 this year, but that's just us getting started. We just had to set a goal, and that was a good goal to start.
Yeah, if you're able to get 30,000 books, that jump to 50,000 with that effort in the community, especially as you expand out, that's a good baseline, but you can get a lot further than that, especially if you have the kind of effort that obviously you've had from the community over these many years that Give My Books has been going on. Todd Whalen joins us. He's the founder of Give My Books. More information, givemybooks.com, as well as jlcbooksale.com. And so, of course, JLC Book Sale is connected to your bookstore, and you're able to sell books through that business. And if books aren't flying off the shelves, there's an easy out there. You put them in the Give My Books, you're giving them away in the community. Someone's going to enjoy that content. But other than that, directly from your business operation, where are the rest of these books coming from?
The books, where do they come from? They come from the community. They're 100% from the community. We actually don't buy any books, and so because people give these to us, we pick up directly from people's front porches or from their, they put their books in their garage for us, and they just schedule online at givemybooks.com. We also have people that have used us, like thrift stores, nonprofits. We have universities. There's a whole list of even organizations that use our libraries. We actually pick up for a whole bunch of libraries throughout all of Southeast Michigan. So not just individual homes, but that does make up the majority, as we picked up from thousands and thousands of people over these last 13 years.
We're joined by Todd Whalen. He is the founder of Give My Books, an effort that is hoping to raise 50,000 different books to spread throughout the community for free to different organizations and individuals in Washtenaw County and as well in surrounding counties, also including Livingston, Oakland, Wayne, and Monroe counties. He joins us on the Megacast. More information on givemybooks.com. And so if people are interested in donating books, what's the best way for them to go about getting in contact with you and going through that process of collecting those books and ultimately getting them into circulation so they can be distributed in our communities?
Excellent. So the best way is to use our website, givemybooks.com. You'll find the pickup request form on there. It's a very simple form, just your name, address, the basic information that we need, and then you schedule your own date. Each zip code has a zone, so we pick up on certain days depending on which zip code you're in. And then you just fill out the form, and what you'll get a confirmation email that you're on our schedule, along with instructions that you'll need for the book pickup. Then the day of the pickup, all you do is leave your books or other items out on the front porch or any other safe, dry location that you've told us. And then we'll come by between 8 a.m. in the morning to 8 p.m. at night, and we'll come and pick all those books up. And then you'll even get a reminder email the day before you have a pickup, and we'll confirm that we did a good job afterwards with an email saying, hey, did we get your books? And then that'll complete the transaction. That's how they get back into circulation.
We're joined by Todd Whalen from Give My Books. You can learn more information, givemybooks.com, as Todd is the founder of the organization. You can also learn more information on jlcbooksale.com. We're joined by Todd Whalen, founder of Give My Books. And so we talk about getting involved in the donation. What about in the distribution? If people would like to help Give My Books collect and distribute these books, how can they get involved with volunteer opportunities?
Yeah, so if anyone wants to be involved with that, they can contact us through our website or just a direct email, actually. So I'm Todd, so todd@givemybooks.com is a great way. That's my email address. And if you absolutely need to, you can find our phone number on the website, which you can call or text and let us know that you are interested in helping, and we'll work that out. We definitely need volunteers, especially for our summer book program that we may speak about.
So 50,000 books, 30,000 last year, 50,000 is the base goal for this year's effort. They're going to a number of different places throughout our communities and helping a whole lot of people. If people are in need, if they're teachers, if there are organizations, if there are individual families that are in need of some books, how can they go about getting those books through this effort as you're giving away thousands of books for free in our communities?
Yep. So there's two different ways at the moment. One is going to givemybooks.com. There is a teacher request form that can be filled out, and that also includes homeschool families or really anybody who wants them. That's just a request form for you to get free books from us. And what happens is, especially if you're a teacher or organization, once we verify all your information and approve you, we send you a coupon code that you can then use for jlcbooksale.com. If you have bulk books, we'll drop them off. But if you are just getting, say, 10, 20, 40 books, you can schedule a time to come pick them out yourself. So that's how people can get those books if they want them.
What's really interesting about this effort, Todd, and what's a really fascinating aspect of the Give My Books effort is that you're collecting all these books and you're storing them and you're running this operation out of your own home. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It certainly is.
That's wild to think about. They have these thousands of books coming into circulation through this effort that at any given time theoretically would be in your home. How are you able to manage that, having that operation out of your home and then helping so many people, and not only now just in Washtenaw County, but in surrounding counties too?
Yeah, it's a challenge. So what we did is at our home, we built a 864 square foot pole barn. That serves as our warehouse. And then my parents' garage, where JLC Book Sale is, well, I should say at my parents' house, which is 2 courts down from ours, we made their garage into a bookstore. That's where the year-round JLC bookstore is, where people can come pick out those books. But at our own home, the key really is we can process a whole bunch of books because nothing really stays at our place. They're all processed and they are sorted and sent out back into the community, either to other bookstores, to other booksellers, or given away back into the community through what we've been talking about.
We're joined by Todd Whalen, founder of Give My Books. You can learn more information in a couple of places, jlcbooksale.com or by visiting givemybooks.com. And if you'd like to get involved through donations, if you'd like to obtain some of these books for your classroom, for your local organization, for yourself or someone that you know who may be in need of these books, you can get in contact with Todd. Todd@givemybooks.com is his email, or visit givemybooks.com and you can get in contact with him that way. So, Todd, another thing on the JLC side, your summer book sale events are coming up. Can you tell us about these events? I understand that they're held in your backyard. When can we expect this to be happening, and what's the fun in all of this?
That's right. Actually, it's tremendous fun. It's a lot of fun. We've set it up so that throughout all of our property, we use our front yard, our driveway, side, and backyard. We put out 15 to 20,000 books, and we categorize them. So, you have your kids' fiction, nonfiction books. So they're easily found, and it's enjoyable. So every book is $1. The sales last from Wednesday to Saturday. But Wednesday is a special day because it's a teachers only day where they come and they get the best selection, and they also get 10% off of the already inexpensive books. But then everyone else can come. It's a huge event, and we do them 4 times a year, our summer events, in May, June, July, and August. So when we do those, we have usually 2,000 to 3,000 people that come to each one of those sales at our home in 3 days. So it's a well-organized, very fun event where people can get their books, and it's very enjoyable.
More information on givemybooks.com or jlcbooksale.com to learn more about Give My Books effort, aiming to give away 50,000 free books at the bare minimum. This year, JLC Book Sale will be holding its summer book sale events from 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. at 2091 Stratton Court in Ann Arbor. The following dates will be Wednesday, May 18th through Saturday, May 21st, Wednesday, June 22nd through Saturday, June 25th, Wednesday, July 20th through Saturday, July 23rd, and Wednesday, August 24th through Saturday, August 27th. In addition to books, Give My Books also collects and sells DVDs, audiobooks, video games, puzzles, and board games. Books are available for $1 each at the summer event. We're joined by Todd Whalen, founder of Give My Books, and also from jlcbooksale.com on the Michigan Megacast. Todd, just another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye. Anything else at this time that would be important for our audience to know about JLC Book Sale, or of course about Give My Books?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things I want everyone to know right now is a coupon code that we are giving out to everybody. This is to jumpstart our giving away efforts. So there's one per person, the limit on it, but it's 10K free book giveaway. So it's 10K, 10K free book giveaway. That is the coupon code that the first 1,000 people that use that coupon code on jlcbooksale.com, the books, it's basically a $12 coupon because 10 books cost $12. But you get your 10 books free, and we're doing that for the first 1,000 people, and that jumpstarts us with 10,000 books being given away just as soon as we have 1,000 people who are interested.
That code, 10K free book giveaway, 10K free book giveaway, givemybooks.com or jlcbooksale.com. Todd, thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
211, how can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
But we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
the leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program on civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll also find information about our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, otherwise known as MyMi. Joining us now is a writer whose articles on topics such as the rise in gas prices and other legislation that is out of Lansing you may have read on mlive.com. Taylor DeSormo joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. Taylor, thank you for being with us again.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Taylor?
Doing pretty good. I think it's supposed to be, 65 degrees today, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I left my jacket at home today. It was a daring choice. It was 30 degrees when I left the home. I immediately regretted it, but I'll unregret it later on this afternoon. So we're off to a good start.
If it's cold later, it's your fault.
It is, exactly. So, Taylor, you've recently written a couple of articles about the rise in gas prices here in the state of Michigan. And part of that topic of conversation, and we mentioned this earlier on in the program when we went through the top stories of the day in Michigan, particularly about the legislature's passing of legislation to suspend the state gas tax, which of course would not be able to go into effect until a year from now because it didn't receive a 2/3 majority vote. But I think the initial question is, considering that the gas tax in Michigan just on January 1st went up again, making it the 6th highest state gas tax in the entire union, I think the operative question a lot of people have, even going into this, is why is the state's gas tax price so high?
Right. Yeah. So every state kind of has their gas tax set up a different way. So in Michigan, there's a lot of different chunks to it. So overall, in January, the average gas tax in Michigan was about 64 cents. It changes a little bit because of sales tax. But so first off, the first chunk you have is the 27.2 cents per gallon for the state gas tax. Then you have the 18.4 cents per gallon for the federal gas tax. And then Michigan also charges sales tax, so 6% of whatever the total is. So right now, at about $4 a gallon, that's around 20 cents. And then there's also a 1 cent environmental protection regulatory fee. So you add it all up, and we're at about 64 cents. There's a few states that have higher. California, I think, is about 77 cents. There's Indiana, Washington, Illinois have a little bit higher ones than Michigan as well. But yes, I mean, when you kind of stack all those fees and taxes on top of each other, that's kind of where we get to what we are. And so if you have a $4 a gallon of gas, for example, really only about $3.33 is going towards the gas itself, and whatnot. Everything else is going toward taxes.
We're joined by Taylor DeSormo, a reporter at MLive Media Group. Read his articles online, mlive.com, for more information as well. And so as you've been looking into the gas tax in the state of Michigan on the rising gas prices, obviously the impact of the Russian invasion of Ukraine is having a significant impact on gas prices across the U.S., really across the world, especially with the now ban on Russian imports of oil here in the United States. But in your reporting, in your investigations, have you been able to really get to the bottom of how gas price fluctuation works, at least here in Michigan, but maybe in general?
Yeah, Michigan definitely reflects the federal kind of changes. There's a few specific ones for Michigan. Obviously, we go to more of a summer blend around May or so. So that kind of changes prices a little bit higher, but that's not a huge deal. In general, though, I mean, the changes that we've seen in the past couple of weeks are really unprecedented. I think, let's see, I know as of March 7th, that week, we raised gas prices nationally by 47 cents. And that's the largest single week gain that we've seen in the U.S. Dating back to the record starting in 1991. So this past week, this March 7th to 14th was a little bit better. It was 21 cents that we went up on average. But even that is still the fifth highest weekly raise since 1991. So they're quite large jumps. So right now, the average, talking about regular gasoline, is $4.18 a gallon. That was last week. So the good news is I think that we're expecting it to go down in the next couple of weeks. The price of oil has dropped in the past week, down below $100 a barrel. So the good news is that I think as the price of oil was raising, so was the price of gas, but it couldn't really keep up. So I know a lot of gas stations were losing money. So they're going to try and kind of recoup some of their gains, maybe not drop the gas prices as quickly as the oil barrels prices are going down. But eventually, I've seen some experts say we're maybe supposed to go down 30 to 50 cents in the next couple of weeks. Patrick DeHaan is a great follow on Twitter. He knows everything about gas prices. He's a petroleum analyst or something like that. So he's definitely a great source to follow if you're looking for more.
We're joined by Taylor DeSormo. He's a reporter at MLive Media Group, joining us on the Megacast. All of his articles online at mlive.com. And so even as we're expecting a significant drop in gas prices in the coming weeks, to counteract the significant increase in gas prices over the last couple of weeks, Taylor, the question still remains for the legislature: what can be done to intervene in these gas prices to reduce them even more, if possible, and provide that relief to everyday Michiganders and those that are visiting the state that are definitely having some issues financially at the pump because of these increasing prices. Of course, we mentioned earlier on the legislation regarding the gas tax. The Senate voted 24-14 on Tuesday to advance a measure that would, for 6 months, suspend the state gas tax, and as was also mentioned in that article that I referred to from Bridge, Michigan, because it didn't pass on a 2/3 majority, that suspension wouldn't go into effect for a 6-month period until March of 2023. Given that there is that disconnect with the legislature being majority Republican in both houses, in both chambers, and the governor at this moment in time being, of course, a Democrat, where do you see, or at least from what you're hearing from the Capitol in Lansing and from your other sources, this effort going at the state level to further reduce these gas prices going forward, as they're continuing to have effect on everyday Michiganders?
Right. Well, Governor Whitmer has indicated that she plans to veto any kind of getting rid of the state's gas tax, which is the 27.2 cents. Now, she has signed a letter to ask the federal government to put a pause on the federal gas tax, which is the 18.4 cents. There doesn't seem to be any indication that will happen. The idea is that Governor Whitmer doesn't want to get rid of the state's gas tax because that goes towards fixing the roads, and that's one of her biggest priorities is fixing the roads. And by just halting that and losing all that money for the rest of the year, that's not going to help the effort and not going to make our roads better. Now, another proposal I've seen out there, even from some Michigan Democrats, is to pause the sales tax on gasoline in Michigan, which is the 6% for every dollar. Now that goes towards schools and other types of things, so it wouldn't really impact the roads, but it would impact other things. I haven't seen a ton of support for that, so I'm not sure if that's something that would pass. And again, that's only about 20 cents per gallon. I think it's going to be largely determined on where gas prices go. If they keep lowering and lowering the next few weeks, I think this is going to kind of fizzle out because people will feel better. Now, if it keeps going on the rise and keeps going out of control, I think there's going to be a lot more pressure on the state to do something, even if it's only lowering it by the 27 cents.
We're joined by Taylor DeSormo. He's a reporter at MLive.com, joining us on the Megacast as we talk about gas prices. Again, he mentioned one of the discussions between both sides of the aisle in Lansing is eliminating the sales tax on gasoline here in Michigan, and that has been so far well received from both sides of the aisle. We had an article that we have linked on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, right at the top of the page, from Bridge, Michigan, from today. When they were in their reporting, they said Senate Minority Leader Jim Ananich, a Democrat from Flint, said he would consider suspending the sales tax on gas until the end of this year. Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey, a Republican from Clark Lake, he referred to the tax as being dumb from day one and would be interested in eliminating that. So that's something that's at least on the table. We'll, of course, keep up on that as time goes on, as that is a big topic of conversation here in the state of Michigan. Taylor, you also mentioned Governor Whitmer when we referred to the suspension, the bill about suspending the gas tax in the state of Michigan for a 6-month period, that she's more than likely going to veto that. And a story on Governor Whitmer you also did, she's vetoed more bills per year than any governor in Michigan since 1953. Obviously, the Republican-led legislature and a lot of their bills being, of course, born and bred by Republicans in the legislature plays a key role into that. But other reasons, too, that the governor has had so much legislation come across her desk and has put forth a record number of vetoes.
Right. Yeah. So for some perspective, in 2021, she vetoed about 17.5% of the bills that came across her desk. Before that, no governor had ever vetoed in Michigan more than 8.3% of bills, dating back at least to the 50s. So it was double the rate. It's interesting, though, when you kind of look at veto rates from the past few governors. It used to be fairly low, and then the most vetoes have come from Governor Whitmer, Governor Rick Snyder, and Governor Jennifer Granholm. So I think that kind of points toward a larger trend of there's obviously been more vetoes from the past 3 governors. Some have said that it might have to do with term limits. When term limits went away in the 90s, there was maybe more turnover of legislators, and maybe they didn't have enough time to build up some of those relationships with the other side of the aisle and maybe make deals. So there's a lot of different theories about what could be going on. I don't necessarily think that a high veto rate is just a bad look on the governor. I mean, you could kind of blame the other side for not being able to work with you and putting forth legislation that they know that the governor is going to veto, and it's all just for show.
And so, Taylor, you also did a story recently, a really interesting story on the water levels in Michigan, in the Great Lakes, particularly Lake Michigan and Lake Huron, which are at the lowest in 5 years. And your reporting and your investigation into those metrics, what are some of the reasons that your sources and the information you've gathered has put behind why those water levels are down to their lowest point in 5 years?
Right. We've seen some kind of crazy swings with water levels in Michigan recently. For a while, they were nearing record lows kind of in the 2000s. And you saw that. And then all of a sudden in 2013, it really shifted and we saw some record highs. I mean, and it's easy to see when you go to the beach in the summer and there's only this much beach before you get to the sidewalk. Like, whoa, these water levels are not normal. So there's a big swing in that. So I've seen some scientists saying that there's been a lot more evaporation, a lot more rain over top of the lakes. And those are the big factors that are kind of pushing, that really influence water levels in the Great Lakes. So when there's a lot more of both of them, if one of them peels back even just a little, we can see bigger swings. So it could be a climate change thing that is really causing maybe more swings instead of just normally we kind of stayed a little bit more steady in our water levels. So it'll be interesting to see. We were going higher and higher and saw record water levels in the Great Lakes in 2019, 2020, and even 2021. And now it seems like we're back on the downswing. We're just about to the average level. So it'll be interesting to see if it kind of levels out or if we go back into a decline again.
All of his articles online, mlive.com. We're joined by Taylor DeSormo. He is a reporter over with MLive, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Taylor, another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye. What are some other stories that you are working on, either that will be coming out soon or that you're working on developing at this time that people should be keeping an eye out for on mlive.com?
Right. Well, I got a really fun one coming for tomorrow. So since I switched positions in November, I'm now a data journalist. So I get to write about numbers for any kind of topic. So we've talked about politics and economics and the environment. And another thing that I'm working on is looking at the numbers of March Madness in Michigan. So a story that I'm working on for tomorrow, we have a graphic that's showing all 7 Michigan teams, so CMU, EMU, WMU, Michigan, Michigan State, Oakland, and Detroit Mercy, and how far they've gone in the tournament each year. So it's interesting to kind of compare and contrast, and I think maybe the thing that surprised me the most was that there was a couple of years where Eastern Michigan went further than any school in Michigan in March Madness. That was back in the 90s a couple times. So it's kind of interesting to compare, and I'm a CMU alum, so it was interesting to see, hey, these are the years that we went to the tournament, and here's how far we went. And Michigan and Michigan State obviously have the top 2 teams in the tournament historically, but they kind of go back and forth. I mean, you look at it, MSU has 8 Final Fours, Michigan only has 5, but Michigan has been to the final 4 times. This is since 1985, where MSU has only been once. So it's kind of interesting to look at the back and forth. And I have a trivia question for you. Do you know what year is the only year since the tournament expanded to 64 teams where no Michigan teams made March Madness, the NCAA tournament?
Since expanding to 64.
Yep, which was in 1985.
Right.
It only has happened one time.
I don't know that year. I'm guessing it was sometime in the late 90s.
Yes, you are correct. 1997. None of the 7 teams made it, but interestingly enough, they made up for it in 1998, as 5 of the teams made it, and 4 of them went to as far as the second round. So Detroit Mercy made it in 98, Eastern Michigan made it, Michigan State, and Western Michigan all made the tournament. So it was a big year the following year, and they made up for not having any success in 1997.
Yeah, really interesting story, really interesting numbers there from you as well. As we're joined by Taylor DeSormo, data reporter with MLive Media Group, joining us on the Megacast. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day.
You as well. You can read all of his articles, including that really interesting article, some metrics on the Michigan college basketball teams and their performance in the NCAA tournament, coming up on mlive.com. Stay tuned to that website for this interesting article from Taylor DeSormo. We'll take a break here on the Megacast. When we return, sustainability is a common buzzword we've been hearing for years as our society looks to maintain its quality of life without sacrificing our government. Joining us next from Oakland University is Dr. Moshkin Raji. This is the Michigan Megacast.
Today it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
a rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can also find information about our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, otherwise known as My. Joining us now from Oakland University is Dr. Moshkin Raji, one of the members of a team appointed by University President Dr. Ora Hirsch-Peskovitz to oversee development of the university's sustainability program. Dr. Raji, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, appreciate having you on. A really interesting project that's being undergone here at Oakland University, working on sustainability into the future, not just at the university, but also consulting with Oakland County in your county of origin over there on campus too, to plan for sustainability of the future, especially now, given that there's such great development of industry in Oakland County and really all throughout the state of Michigan. How much more important now is it to really have that plan for looking forward to maintain the certain quality of life and quality of industry that we have in our society and in the Oakland County area in particular for your operation, while also keeping in mind that greater output often leads to greater impact on the environment.
Yeah, it's massive. And it's one of those things where this is not a new problem. You know, these environmental issues, climate change have been a problem for years, for decades. But I think there's this greater realization, like we can do something and we can do something locally, right? Oftentimes we think of these big initiatives, global, national countries acting on these things, but there's actually a lot we can do it in our own kind of backyards and our own communities. And so there's a lot we can do at OU and within the county just to think about, you know, how do we support biodiversity? How do we diversify our energy sources so that way we're not just relying on one thing? If something happens, we're then kind of captured with that. And if that goes down, right, then where do you get your energy from? Your heat in the winter when it's really cold, or air conditioning in the summer. So it is really important and exciting to think about like the work that OU can do, but as well as the work we can collaboratively think about for all of the communities within the county.
And it's really interesting to think about, too, because of the natural resources that are available for energy here in Oakland County, and also because of the different forms of sustainable energy or cleaner energy that have come to the forefront in the last decade or 15, 20 years all across the U.S. and around the world, and how those can be incorporated. And so what are some of those areas of focus that your team over at Oakland University are focusing on in Oakland County as ways to kind of go about organizing those sustainability projects going forward, and considering what are those options in the local area and how those can then connect to neighboring areas in partnership?
Yeah, there are a bunch of different areas of sustainability that we can talk about. The kind of big ones that we're focusing on at OU, and I imagine the county is also going to focus on, is one is renewable energy and trying to diversify our energy sources, which I mentioned before. Another thing is biodiversity, and thinking about, hey, can we have native plants so that we can support our pollinators? And that's something that gets a lot of attention these days. So that's one thing. Another thing, we also are thinking about kind of workplace wellness and what are the products we use that might expose our workers to chemicals, right? How do we ensure that they are actually safer for the people working on campus? And then we have kind of transportation. How do we think about, this is kind of a dual aspect, which is one is like, what are the vehicles we're using? What fuel do they get? How fuel efficient and energy efficient are they? But the other piece of it is, how do we get around, right? We mostly just think of cars as the way to get around, but there's bicycles, there's scooters, there's buses and trains. There's different forms of transportation that we can all utilize. And I'm from the kind of the public health realm. And so, I encourage those things because it also means people are moving around and being more physically active. So there's usually other benefits than just environmental. And then we have thinking about kind of curricular activities, and this is particular to OU, right? We want to ensure that we are educating people, our students, and I would say the broader community, the public, about why these things have value and currency in our lives, and why we want to implement them in our community. Otherwise, kind of what are we doing? Why? Right? So talking about the rationale behind these things and educating people about the issues that exist so they can critically understand what's going on. And then there's other issues around kind of communications, investments and understanding that within the university, operations, maintenance, what are the practices we have, how often do we mow the lawn, all those types of things. And then water management, waste is another thing. I almost forgot waste. That's another thing people often think about, right? Think about food and dining, right? You have all of the waste from that as well. And then you just have all the classrooms, recycling, is there composting that's possible? So there's a lot of different things that we are planning on focusing on at the university. And I would say that we're probably going to see somewhat similar, but maybe not exactly the same focuses within the county. And the hope is that we can try to figure out how can we kind of collaborate to be more efficient in all that we're doing. If there are innovative practices that we can use, what are the things we can implement maybe at OU, but also in a community in Oakland County? So whether or not that's Pontiac or that's Troy, wherever it is, thinking about innovatively addressing these types of issues.
We're joined by Dr. Michiganders. She is an assistant professor of public health at Oakland University, joining us on the Megacast. More information about the sustainability project at oakland.edu, oakland.edu. For more information. And of course, this project was mentioned and spoken about by Oakland County Executive David Coulter in his State of the County address recently. That is on oakgov.com/SOTC, oakgov.com/SOTC. So Dr. Raji, you're not the only member of the team that is focused on sustainability projects, really extensive throughout the university in a number of different areas of expertise. Of course, you are in the public health realm, but there's others in engineering and also and also other different initiatives and other different programs too. Can you speak about the team that is behind this project that's been appointed by the university president, and how all those different factors, all those different areas of expertise are playing together to put together a plan for sustainability for Oakland University and the greater community in the future?
Right. So the leaders of the sustainability initiative at OU are myself, and I have a background in environmental health within public health, which is all about understanding how people are exposed to pollution and how that impacts their health. So kind of a human-centered, but a lot of that stems from understanding air, water, soil quality, food quality, and things like that, which all depend on environmental sustainability. The other members are Chris Reed, who is the director of the Oakland Center. And so he manages a lot of projects looking at, food waste, other waste within this. This is the student center on campus, and has been involved with other sustainability initiatives at other universities. And then the third member is Chris Kobus, who is an associate professor in engineering, and he works on renewable energy and kind of building energy efficiency. And what is encouraging to me is I think it's a good group of folks because we all bring our own expertise. I am not a renewable energy expert, but Chris Kobus has that expertise. And so together, I think we make a great team to be able to think about kind of programmatic activities, health and environment, and then also kind of the practical engineering and logistics of megawatts and other things like that. So that's the core team that's leading the sustainability initiative at OU, but it is thankfully supported by the president, as well as there's another group of folks that are serving in an advisory board throughout the university that will help us try to kind of develop the initiatives as we go throughout the coming years.
We're joined by Dr. Mushkin Raji. She is an assistant professor of public health at Oakland University, one of many members appointed by the Oakland University president, or Hirsch Peskovitz, to oversee the ongoing development of the university's future sustainability plan. And so as you are considering all these factors, as you're putting together plans for maintaining sustainability at Oakland University in particular, but also in the surrounding areas in the community in Oakland County, where does that turn from a plan into action, and what are those next steps after that sustainability plan is drafted and is put forth by the university to then take that into action? Because it's great to have a plan, but if the plan isn't ever enacted, what's the purpose?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've really been doing a lot of planning in the past year or so. We spent the past year about looking at how are we doing? What are the things we've been doing around sustainability? And really the next step is the action piece. And we are hoping at OU in particular to essentially have these different groups that are working, there are different committees working on biodiversity, on renewable energy, on the curriculum and sustainability, on transportation, and have each of those groups start working on what are their goals, short-term, medium, long-term, and then develop proposals of, okay, what do we need to do in the short term to try to start making these changes? And then what are the things we need to lay the groundwork on now, which we're not going to see the impacts maybe immediately, but we will a year from now, and we have to start doing that work now. So that's actually what we're moving into now is let's start doing the action, because that's what we need is to actually see some traction. And so that's the next step. We are working with the county as well, which is really exciting. And the county has a new sustainability officer that started in the fall. They're working on their own sustainability goals. And so part of this is also figure out how can we, as we're each developing our goals, start coming together and figure out where there's synergy and collaboration that we can do.
Dr. Raji, just another minute or so before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that would be important for our audience to know about the work that's being done by this group at Oakland University to put forth the university's sustainability plan, the partnership with Oakland County, or even if people want to participate or want to learn more information about the process that's being undergone at Oakland University, how they can get involved?
Yeah, that's I think what's really exciting about this is I think this is something that a lot of people care about. Our students care about it, our faculty, our staff care about it, the residents of Oakland County care about it. And so it's exciting to have this come together. And I hope that all people get involved, both at the county level and with OU. We're a regional institution and we expect collaboration. And so I hope that people do. There is a website that's forthcoming. So if you look on the OU website, just search sustainability, maybe a week from now, you'll see it. That should be up and provide more information. I think what's important to me, to also get across is sometimes this stuff is a little like, what are we doing? It's a little amorphous. And it's like, it often asks us to make changes now that maybe are different. But oftentimes they pay off in the long run. And it's thinking in this kind of longer term and sometimes circular frame of saying, how do we think about this holistically of what the impacts are? This is something that's going to position us well as a county, as a university, in terms of economics and social, environmental health, well-being. And so I hope that people can get involved and support it.
Dr. Raji, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And again, you can keep up to date on this project. Again, search sustainability on the Oakland University website, oakland.edu. And as Dr. Raji said, a website for the sustainability effort is forthcoming. You'll be able to find that by starting at oakland.edu. Yeah, we thank you all for joining us today, and of course, a big thank you to everybody that joined us on this edition of the Megacast. Of course, Dr. Michigan Raji from Oakland University, Taylor DeSormo from MLive Media Group, Todd Whalen from Give My Books, James Pappas from Fusco Schaefer and Pappas Incorporated, architects and planners, and of course, Oakland County Executive David Coulter. All of these interviews on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can also find our full episodes if you're just tuning in, or you want to view all of our Megacast episodes dating all the way back to March of 2020 on demand. civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can also learn more information about all of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets that join us live and live to tape each and every day, and learn more about their other original programming, keeping you informed in your local area. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Also encourage you to head to our coronavirus page to stay up to date on COVID-19 information from experts at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, as well as top articles making headlines on the COVID front and beyond all across the Great Lakes State every single day. civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Big thank you to our crew who make everything here possible every day on the Megacast. Our technical director, Calvin Brown, switching the cameras, running our audio, keeping everything running smoothly every single day as we do this broadcast. The king of television himself, Larry Nyland, our producer, booking all the guests, helping them prepare to be on the Megacast and helping us here at the Megacast prepare to have informed conversations with them. Jared Clark, our Zoom producer at the office of My Michigan TV in Troy, and Maddie Mushkin out at Master Control. Coming up next on My Michigan TV is Steve Leto Live, followed by Larry and Maddie Live. We will return Thursday morning at 10 a.m.